Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be reviewing the book Never Lie by Freida McFadden. And so I'm just going to read the back of the book, the blurb, and it says, "Sometimes the truth kills. Newlyweds Trisha and Ethan are searching for the house of their dreams. They think they found it when they visit the remote manor that once belonged to Dr. Adrian Hale, a renowned psychiatrist who vanished without a trace years ago. But when a violent winter storm traps them at the estate, the house begins to lose its appeal. Stuck inside and growing restless, Trisha stumbles on a collection of audio transcripts from Dr. Hale's sessions with patients. As Trisha listens to the cassette tapes, she learns about the terrifying chain of events leading up to the doctor's mysterious disappearance. With each tape, another shocking piece of the puzzle falls into place, and a web of lies slowly unravels. But by the time Trisha reaches the final cassette, the one that reveals the entire horrifying story, it will be too late." So I'm halfway through this book, so I am at chapter 25. Yes, so I'm at chapter 25, so I'm about halfway, maybe a little less through this book. And so I'm going to be talking about chapters 1 through 25, and I was going to say in no specific order, but that makes no sense, but just pretty much reviewing it. So we start off with Trisha and Ethan, who are a couple of newlyweds who only have known each other for a year. They have been married for 6 months, and they are moving, or not moving, but they are looking to move into a new house. And they have left their apartment in Manhattan, and they're going up to Westchester to meet with their real estate agent, Judy, to look at this new house. So when they get to the house, they see it's also, there's a snowstorm. When they get to the house, they see that a light is on, and so they assume that Judy is there. But no, she's actually not there. Because they go to the house, they kick the door open because there's no key, and they see that the house is really dusty. It's not clean or neat at all, and they assume like Judy could not have been here because she wouldn't show a house like this. Now, because of the snowstorm, ultimately they end up stuck there. They also realize that this is the house of an author whose name was Adrian, and she was also a psychiatrist who mysteriously vanished a couple years ago, or some time ago. And Trisha immediately gets the sense that something is off about the house. However, Ethan is like, "Oh, there's really nothing wrong with it, yada, yada, yada." He's like convincing her that, there's nothing wrong with it. Now, let's remind, the book is called Never Lie, and Trisha says that she has a secret that she hasn't told Ethan. And I'm like, what is that secret? Eventually, it's revealed that the secret is that she's pregnant, and she doesn't want to tell Ethan because she thinks that he has a temper. Because she's witnessed him talk over the phone, and she's witnessed him get mad, although he's never gotten angry with her. So eventually she does tell him that she's pregnant, and he doesn't have like a terrible reaction. He's like, "Oh, I thought, you didn't want to have kids sooner. That's why I said we would have kids later." But it turns out he's not upset about that. Now, let's rewind a bit. So the book does this thing where it goes back and forth between the narration of Adrian and Trisha and present day or before. And so when it's Adrian, it says before, and when it's Trisha, it says present day. So as I said, Adrian was a psychiatrist and an author, and there were patients she had that she was uncomfortable with. And there is one patient who Trisha, as she's going through the library, she finds a secret door in the present day, and in the secret door is like an office with all of Adrian's like recordings of patients. Now, Adrian notes in her chapters that though she always asked her patients for permission to record, she recorded whether they gave her permission or not. So all of these cassettes, they're recordings of all sessions, regardless of whether her patient approved to record or not. And so Trisha finds one cassette and it has a recording of this patient called with the initials EL. And throughout the recording, it's noted that Adrian actually never says this person's name at all in this recording, but the initials are EL, and it's clear that this person is, you know, obviously a little bit off. He is continuously coming to the sessions, although she doesn't take insurance, so insurance doesn't cover it. He's not paying, and his mother is not paying, and his mother wants him to stop because she hasn't seen improvement with him, but Ethan wants to continue going to him. And eventually Adrian tells him like, no, you can't come anymore to the sessions. And he gets upset and he's like, eventually you're going to be begging me for something. And this is said in the recordings. And so Trisha obviously is like, she's like, that this person maybe have something to do. At least I'm sure that's what she was thinking with Adrian's disappearance. However, it's known that Adrian had a boyfriend whose name was Luke, who she met at, I believe, some clinic where she used to see some patients. And she meets him, she finds out about him, and, you know, they eventually form a relationship. Luke previously was married, and I believe his wife passed away. It's not revealed how as yet. Also, with the patient EL, it's also revealed, he also says something later on in a later recording saying like, oh, like it's possible like that my parents could, you know, die due to brake failure or something. And Adrian's like, are you suggesting that you would like kill your parents? He's like, no, of course not, but anything can happen. Now, important things to note about EL and Trisha's husband, Ethan. So immediately I was like, oh, initial E, Ethan, there has to be some connection there, right? And then later on, Adrian mentions that EL was handsome, but he was on the shorter side for a man. Trisha in present day also offhandedly mentions that Ethan is very handsome, but on the shorter side for a man. Adrian mentions that EL is wealthy. He always has the most expensive items. Trisha notes that Ethan is a wealthy man. She also notes that when listening to the voice, something about the voice of EL sounded familiar. She also states that her friends saw red flags in Ethan that she didn't really think were red flags, right? So as a reader, I'm feeling like it's pretty obvious that EL is Ethan, and maybe he had something to do with Adrian's disappearance. Also throughout the night, they're staying in the house. Trisha hears like noises and stuff. And earlier in the day, she was creeped out by this portrait of, I think it's a woman. And so Ethan had taken it down and turned it around and placed it against the fireplace. Now, when Trisha hears noises, she leaves the bedroom and she comes downstairs and she sees that the picture had been placed back up where it was. She tells Ethan this and he's like, oh, you know, like it's dark. You're probably seeing things or it couldn't be. And he says this to her in the morning time again, when the picture is back down. And she's like, you know, like, I told you that, like, I asked you if you moved it. And he's like, well, yeah, I told you I did move it, like, when I had put it down. And she's like, no, I told you I saw, like, I meant, like, I saw it up. And he's like, it's dark, blah, 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 blah. You know, and then this is when she tells him that she's pregnant. And he's like, oh, no wonder you've been acting so crazy because you're pregnant. And she's like, I have not been acting that crazy. Also of note is that EL had given Adrian, the psychiatrist, some wines from I believe, South Africa. And these are the same two wines that Ethan finds when they're in the house and gives to, and offers rather, to his wife to drink, to Trisha to drink. And they're wines from South Africa. Trisha offhandedly says that she didn't see where Ethan pulled them out from, or she didn't know how he found them. So, you know, at this point in the story, we have Adrian, who has met in the before, has met her now slash past boyfriend Luke, who people suspect have something to do with her passing. We've met EL. We've also met Adrian's former book publisher, whose name is Paige, if I'm not mistaken. And she had fired Paige because she believed that, you know, Paige was always kind of criticizing her and stuff, and she didn't want to deal with that, always telling her like, oh, you need somebody to live in the house. She felt like everyone was always telling her that she needed somebody to live in the house with. And oh, you need to get cameras. So when she has an instance of EL actually coming to her house and telling her to like open the door, and this is when she actually takes EL back as a patient, because she had terminated stuff with him, and he said, you're going to be begging me. So she kind of feels threatened when he comes back, because he threatens her with something that she did when she was running late to work, the same workplace that Luke is at, because somebody was taking her car spot. And when like she saw this, initially, like, they didn't tell us that she did anything. She was mad and she went to park. EL, I'm assuming it's Ethan, but EL has a video of her slashing that person's tires. And because she feels threatened and she doesn't want to lose her job and she doesn't want to be known as the author who slashes tires, she lets him in and takes him back in as a patient. Of note, when EL was talking to her about his parents possibly dying in like by the brakes failing or something important that I also realized is that Trisha mentions that Ethan's parents had died before they even met, and she doesn't really bring up the topic with him because it's a very sour topic. He gets kind of emotional and standoffish about it, and he does not want to speak about it. And so to me, this is all linking Ethan to her disappearance. I'm also wondering if there's more secret to Trisha than what she's revealing to us. And I'm wondering if Paige, her former publisher, has anything at all to do with what has happened or what's going on in the story. So yeah, that was the first half of Never Lie by Freida McFadden, a pretty well-known author herself. So yeah, guys, if you have read this book ever, please leave your comments down below of what you thought about that first half of the book. And what do you think of my theories? Don't spoil anything so far. And if you're reading this, let me know what you think also. Remember to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel. See you guys later. Bye.